One of these thermal cameras cost $100 and just hit the market. The other, $450, and it's over 8 years old, yet some people are still pushing it like it's a Chase Labubu. Cheap and Cheerful, and today it's my ultimate guide to cheap thermal cameras, my fourth and final video for a while, and we're going out with a bang. I've got 3 new cameras for hands-on tests, finally got a FLIR, finally got a Topdon, nearly a dozen units compared across 3 price ranges to find the best bang for your buck. Plus, along the way, I'll teach you how to make your own decision from these or any other camera without having to rely on some random Aussie bloke on YouTube. All the facts and none of the faff, coming right up. A big thanks to Fatima for helping me get hold of their FLIR and the Topdon used in today's review. Check out his store at platy.ma, and I just noticed that bastard has more subscribers than me. The other unit we're looking at, the P1, was sent in by Thermal Master for review. All opinions are my own. I may earn a commission if you use the links or coupons below at no cost to you. Let's check out these 3 while we learn my new 4 most important things to know when buying a cheap thermal camera. First up, resolution. It's not as important as you might think. Yes, it's still the first thing you should look at, but consider this. There are several images out there like this, probably copyright, so I've made my own version just quickly. And as you can see, from 80 by 60 up to 160 by 120, there's a big jump in quality. After that, you hit diminishing returns pretty quickly. And other factors start to make a bigger difference. Thermal sensitivity, pixel pitch, and as people often forget, the lens. This is just a camera after all. So let's demonstrate that now with the FLIR One Pro on the left and the Thermal Master P1 on the right. Both have the same 160 by 120 resolution, but obviously the quality of the image is different. And why is that? Well, apart from the P1 being a brand new camera with a great lens, it's also got a much better thermal sensitivity, which we'll talk about in a moment. There's also the fact that the FLIR One Pro, according to its owner, took a dunk in the ocean. Not sure how that might happen, Platima.
This is unbelievable, what a wave!
Or maybe it was a different body of water entirely. But is its ocean adventure really a factor? Well, I'm not so sure, because when I check out other people's sample footage from the internet, it also looks pretty average. And without exception, all examples use that artificial thermal camera effect. If you've noticed those lines, it seems to be a bit of a gimmick, which in my opinion seem to mask over what's actually a pretty low quality thermal image. I'll show you what I mean. First, say this was our actual thermal camera image. Blurry, fairly low quality. But if we take an image from another regular camera, like the onboard webcam on the FLIR One Pro, then apply some basic edge detection, which is like a Photoshop filter basically. Overlay that on top of our blurry thermal camera footage, and wham, we've now got what looks like a high quality thermal image. Now, that was a simulation to demonstrate how it works, but let's have a look at the real thing. So here's some footage with the effect applied, and here's the same footage with the effect turned off. Now, to be clear, most thermal camera companies do provide an overlay feature, but it's just the raw camera footage on top. It's not this pseudo thermal camera effect, which is a really nice effect for you to be able to see what you're looking at, but it also gives a false sense of detail. All the thermal camera is doing in these images is coloring in between the lines like a 2-year-old with crayons. Turning that mode off, and this is what you're left with. Yuck. Moving on, let's talk thermal sensitivity measured in millikelvins, or as I like to call them, Mortal Kombats. Excellent. Simply put, the lower the Mortal Kombats, the better. The higher, the worse. For example, this FLIR One Pro at 70 MK is essentially Mortal Kombat 7 Armageddon, meaning it sucks. Then you have the P1 and the Topdon here, 40 MK, meaning Mortal Kombat 4, which was pretty good.
My snoo-snoo! Yeah!
Then you've got the P3 and the Thor here at 35 MK, Mortal Kombat 3 heading into absolute classics territory. Sadly, being a poverty-stricken Aussie bloke with 2 kids, a wife and a mortgage, we won't be looking at anything MK2 or MK1 today, since those things are tens of thousands of dollars. But if you did want to support my channel, there are affiliate links and coupon codes below, and if you buy through them, I may earn a small commission at no cost to you, which goes towards making this content and keeping the wife happy, as if that was ever possible. Or you can just like and subscribe so I can overtake this guy. Moving on, next we've got pixel pitch. Sadly, there's no video game analogy for this one. It's a full-on Star Trek convention any way you try to explain it. So like the good Aussie I am, I'm just going to handball this to the next guy. Here's a video that'll explain it much better than I ever could. I'll wait while you go and watch it. Yeah, nah, I couldn't be bothered watching it either. So here's a simple explanation. Pixel pitch is the spacing between the pixels on your thermal sensor. Smaller spacing means more pixels, giving you higher resolution. But like everything on this godforsaken planet, it's never that simple, because bigger spacing means bigger pixels, which are more sensitive to heat, meaning better quality images. It's Schrodinger's thermal camera, where both bigger and smaller pixels give you a better image. Yep, it's confusing as hell, and I'd recommend you don't think about it too much. Just remember that 12's a great number. It's the age you realise that boobies were cool, and it's a solid pixel pitch for modern thermal cameras. And finally, frame rate. Now, if YouTube's correct and my audience is a total sausage party, you've known what frame rate was since you got your first PC or console.
Shake it, baby.
And if you've watched any of these videos before, you'll know that the US government has restrictions on US companies like FLIR exporting anything faster than 8 or 9 Hertz, because then it becomes dual-use military. And sure enough, the FLIR One Pro is just 8.7 Hertz, or 8 frames a second. It's running Cyberpunk on launch day in there. Even their expensive models, like this $1,300 unit, has just 9 Hz refresh rate. It makes sense for a law created in the 80s to prevent US technology falling into the hands of, say, the Russians or China. But these days, Uncle Sam's got dementia, China's the technological powerhouse, and the US is seeking advice from an ex-Soviet state, Ukraine, on how to build the latest battlefield weaponry. Well, that's just far too much learning for this month, so let's take a closer look at each model, then we can do tests and comparisons. Starting with the FLIR One Pro, it's got a 160 by 120 pixel sensor, which would be okay for an entry-level model, but yeah, $400 US. The 8.7 Hz frame rate is just terrible. But overall, in some situations, the camera does look okay. For example, in the outdoor test, it wasn't too bad. Generally, medium to longer range scenes, it seems to do its best. This unit could just be especially bad since it's taken a swim, though honestly, looking at other footage of this unit from the internet, it looks the same to me, so I don't think that's the problem. More annoying though, it's just weird. You actually have to charge it. It's got its internal battery. It's a dongle that you plug into your phone. You still need to charge it like a handheld. It just doesn't make sense. And you've got to turn it on. So you turn it on here, and then you've got to wait 20 or 30 seconds for the light to turn green. Then you can plug it into your phone. I mean, it was first released in 2017, so maybe that's all it is. I have to switch it on again. Does it run out of battery? It's probably run out of battery. Come on. Finally. Okay, so finally it's up, and you can see those lines it's adding there to the picture to make it look nicer. But as soon as we turn that off, and that's your actual thermal image. So yeah, personally, my opinion is leave the FLIR units for the corporates to buy, the big companies. For your business, or your small business, or for your own use, go for a brand that offers better value. Okay, Thermal Master P1. This unit has completely changed how I see the resolution figure on thermal cameras. Same resolution as the FLIR at 160 by 120, but a far sharper picture. Better lens, higher sensitivity at 40 millikelvins, and it's like $119, maybe less with a coupon. I put the link and the coupon below. Checking out its footage close up, it's really good for a unit that doesn't have a macro lens. You can actually get quite close to things. As for a comparison, let's show it alongside the Topdon TC001, which is totally unfair. The Topdon costs twice as much, has a much higher resolution, but I just wanted to demonstrate how nice the P1 really is, even ignoring how cheap it is. I think the P1 footage might actually look better, and it's like $100 unit. If you look at the building on the left in the distance, There's just more detail to it. I assume that's because it's got a more sensitive sensor, but yeah, it's wild. 119 bucks. I think it's a bargain. And just to demonstrate how much faster this thing is than the FLIR, so I just plug it in, and that's it. There's no screwing around with charging and turning it on and waiting and all that sort of stuff. Really nice. And you know, I actually rejected a request to review this about a month or so ago because I just looked at the resolution spec and I went, nah, it's not going to be any good. It wasn't until I reviewed the P3 in the last video, they offered me the P1 again, and I saw the price and I saw the other specs and I realized, hey, this might actually be something. I do kind of hate that I'm promoting this right now. Like, I sound like one of those shills on the FLIR One Pro videos. So this is why I bring as many cameras together as I can to show you footage, to teach you what the data means, so you can check my logic and make a decision for yourself. We'll compare more footage in a moment. Link and coupon for this are in the description. But yeah, wait until we look at the other models before making a decision. Okay, this is the Topdon TC001. It's got a 256 by 192 resolution. Very nice. Though the user manual states it's got a sensitivity of 50 millikelvins, which is a bit of a weakness, yet the marketing on their website says 40 millikelvins, so I'm not sure who to believe there. It's also Android only. Don't be tricked by some sellers on AliExpress who say it works with newer USB-C iPhones and things like that. Topdon have specifically said Android only. There's a completely different model for iOS units. Using it up close, like on PCBs and things like that, the image is a bit soft. Actually, across all the tests I did, I found the Topdon image was a bit softer. It actually looks great if you're making a movie or something or need some pleasant looking footage, because it actually does look really nice, the footage. Let's compare it with the P3, which is this unit, the equivalent thermal master. And as we can see, the P3, even better than the P1, it's just detecting so much more detail and temperature variance. But there is one use case where the Topdon just blows everything else out of the water, except maybe the Thor, and that was the ceiling insulation test, but probably only in a hot climate. I'll explain that when we go through the test in more detail. Topdon retails for $289, but I think you can get it around $230 on sale sometimes. Okay, moving on, Thermal Master P3, which I reviewed last time, so I'll try to keep this quick. P3 is the bigger brother of the P1. It's about twice the price at about $250. If you've got a coupon, there's a coupon down in the description and a link, but it's got a higher resolution sensor, 256 by 192, just like the Topdon, but it's got a really nice, a much better thermal sensitivity at 35 millikelvins, which is the same as the Thor, the high-level Thor 001, which is really, really nice. Same unit works for both Android and iOS, and even for models like an Apple that doesn't have the newer Type-C connection or Thunderbolt connection, they provide an adapter in the box as well with this one. So yeah, that was pretty cool. Best feature about this one, of course, is the manual focus. You can get some killer up-close PCB shots with this thing just by turning that focus ring. It's a real focus ring, like on a proper camera. Yeah, that's what it's primarily designed for, PCB up-close shots, but it also does just general thermal camera duties pretty well. This one's been my go-to unit when I'm testing my gear. I use this one in the USB charger video recently, just because it's so easy, and dongles in general are easy. Topdon, Goyojo, and the Thermal Master dongles, you just whack them in, launches, and you're going within a few seconds. Okay, let's do our suite of tests on these units and see how they actually perform. First up is the PCB inspection. The P1 looks great for the price. You can get quite close, as I said before, and it still holds a really nice picture. Adding in the P3 to the screen with its manual focus and just stunning pro-grade footage, really nice. Now the Topdon, not too bad, obviously a lot softer than the others. I think its lens is more tailored to medium range, as we'll see coming up. And the FLIR, you know, not too bad once I got used to it and how to use it. But yeah, certainly not great for the price. Obviously, the killer for PCB inspection, better than the P3, although it's very close, is the Thor 001 up on screen now due to its macro lens attachment. So that comes with an attachment that you can just push on the front here and puts a macro lens, and yeah, it's phenomenal. Phenomenal. It's really good. Moving on to the bathroom situation, and what I do here is I run a hot shower to see how well each model can pick up the temperature change on the ceramic tiles from when the hot water splashes. You can see the heat up and then the cool down, and it just tells you how well the camera is performing and how well it reacts. Right now, this is the P1 doing really well. Next, I'll add the Topdon TC001, looks pretty good, and then the Thermal Master P3. All of these are great cameras for this range, and I think the Topdon redeems itself here. Very pleasant image to look at, though, yeah, clearly they're overdoing the smoothing a bit. We can see the difference in the sensors. The P3 has the most sensitive 35 millikelvin sensor, so we're getting all those little splashes and trickles on the wall that we're just not seeing on the Topdon, which has either a 40 or a 50 millikelvin, depending on who you believe. P1 also picking up some of that detail. Again, just really impressive for $100. Honestly, I started this whole series of reviews looking for that camera, I reckon. The cheapest and best, highest price performance ratio. I'm glad I'm finishing up and I finally found one like that. Anyway, so next up the FLIR, and yeah, it just doesn't look so great in that medium range situation, lacking a lot of detail. Here's some of the other cameras I've tested in previous reviews. The Thor looks fantastic. Gojo dongle, not too bad. The Tool Top, I never got shower footage, and the MLX was terrible. Where's the MLX? The MLX, yeah, the MLX was terrible. This is one of these super cheap things you see on AliExpress. Do not buy, do not buy, do not buy. But if you want to check it out, I think I've got that in my episode 3. Okay, so next the ceiling insulation test, and this has got a big surprise for us. So in this test, I check out my bedroom ceiling insulation, which has a huge gap where the builders neglected to install insulation bats. To set a benchmark, let's check out the Thor, easily the best thermal camera that I own, and as expected, the Thor sees everything. Moving on to the FLIR, and yeah, not too bad. We can see a big difference there, obviously, but it's still a useful image. We can still see there's a problem. Though notice how it can't see the round duct like the Thor did. Those lines that it is seeing, though, that's just the regular camera, adding edges around everything that it can see. The P1 does much better, can start to see the frame. It's just starting to pick up the duct, and we can certainly start to make out some of the frame in the rest of the room thanks to that better sensor. Moving on to the P3, and it's looking way better. We can see the duct perfectly thanks to its 35 millikelvin sensor, and the frame is just in X-ray vision mode, very similar to the Thor. Finally, the Topdon, which absolutely nails this situation. That gap in the ceiling insulation is causing most of the other cameras to wash out. The Topdon's dynamic range control seems to have toned that down, toned the hotspot down, and prevented that blooming from occurring, so we get a much clearer image. Every other scenario, it's beaten by the P3 and the P1 in some cases. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, if you agree, if you disagree. Okay, final test. Let's head outdoors and see how these cameras handle distance. Usually we hunt for a wild beast in this situation, but he's off duty today, so let's see how far they can pick up the temperature differences, probably the houses and the hot roofs and the cars in the distance. First up, the FLIR, very simple image, detecting the hot roof in the distance, but the lack of variation is pretty obvious. Everything's either hot concrete or cool vegetation and nothing in between. The P1, really impressive, same hot roof, but now we can specifically see which parts of the building are the hottest and which aren't. Tons of detail, again, for $100, just crazy value. P3, very similar, but with a little bit more detail again, a bit more variation again. Notice the color gradients on that one a bit more. Now the Topdon really highlights the heavy filtering or AI smoothing or something that it's applying. It makes for a much prettier image, but the P1 and the P3 are delivering way more detail, which is usually what you need in these situations. Zooming up on the house in the distance, we can see what effect the different thermal sensors have on the image. The Topdon, we're losing some of that detail. The P1 has some more, and the P3 has the most. Okay, so here's my final lineup after months of testing. Links and coupon codes for all models in the video description. Now, I'd really like to encourage you to make your own decision on what works best for you, but of course, I'll share my personal view. Starting at the bottom, so the cheapest units, Malessi TR10 stays as the recommended unit if you want a handheld. Gojo gets the boot. In comes the P1, which is just an incredible unit. I would be taking that over the TR10 personally, but they're both good units. Some people just prefer a handheld, and this one's just a recent release that's just blown me away. Mid-price kind of units, my opinion, the P3 won 3 out of 4, best unit by far, but I was seriously impressed by how well the Topdon did in that bedroom insulation test with the extreme contrast going on there. If you need something for that exact scenario, then I think that's the unit you should buy. But yeah, overall, the P3 pulled ahead with far more detail visible in the close-up PCB test, the long-distance outdoor test, also pick up more detail in the bathroom shower test, and also did really well in that bedroom test. It's just the Topdon did a little bit better. Top of the range models of all the units I've tested, it is undeniable that the Thor is an absolute beast of the unit. If you're a professional or you expect to be outdoors or you're taking a lot of tools around a job site, I'd definitely be considering this unit. Comes in a hard case, it's built like a tank, it's high res, super sensitive, IP rated, decent warranty. There are some alternatives like the Topdon TC005 and the HIC Micro B20, though both of those have some kind of obvious downsides around screen size and battery life. So right now I'm comfortable continuing to recommend the Thor 001 if you need the absolute best all-round plus detailed close-up macro shots, or the Thor 002, which is basically the same unit, if you don't need that macro lens and you want to save a bunch of cash. That said, the P3 is like 90% there. I wonder if it's the same lens or something, or the same sensor. The P3 makes excellent, excellent shots. So if you can't afford this, grab the P3, no question. Right now, there are way too many Thermal Master units in my recommendations for me to be comfortable. So next year, I'll be on a mission to dethrone them. I've tried really hard to find units that would do better, but right now, they are killing it in terms of price performance. They really are. They're all over their competitors. Please feel free to make some suggestions for some other units I can look at, and I'll add them to my list. That's all for this episode. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, be cool, be kind, and I'll see you next time.